Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
Nate sent me a story out of Ohio, and this is something I'm very familiar with for a couple reasons, which I'll get to in a second. But from WKRC, Circle K responds after Ohio drivers unknowingly pumped their gas tanks full of diesel. And that's when they weren't trying to put diesel in their vehicles. See, if your car runs on regular gasoline, you don't put diesel in it. And it runs on diesel, you're not supposed to put regular gasoline into it. Bad things can happen. Circle K responded after multiple drivers unknowingly pumped their gas tanks full of diesel, according to WOIO. Drivers spoke to OIO after their vehicles reportedly experienced issues after visiting a Circle K in Avon, Ohio. One man said, "I jumped in the car to start it up, and it started sputtering. Lights started flashing. There's a giant puff of white smoke." Now, the question, of course, is how quickly it would affect you. Because if you already had fuel in your tank, and there's a fuel line that runs from the tank up to the engine, but we're not doubting this happened. The man told reporters that he had to have his Jeep towed to a dealership where a mechanic informed him that there was, in fact, diesel in his gas tank and in the fuel lines. When speaking to the station, he said he wanted to be compensated by Circle K after repairs put him out $1,100, and that's not including the cost of the tow and a rental vehicle while his vehicle is being fixed. So after WOIO reported the situation, the driver of a Ford F-350 called into the station and said that he also had problems after visiting that station. He told reporters that his truck was now in the shop after it was pumped full of unleaded gas when he meant to get diesel. Circle K confirmed to WOIO that diesel was mistakenly added to the unleaded storage tanks, and unleaded was added to the diesel storage tanks in what is known as a cross-drop. And I worked at a gas station when I was in high school. I've mentioned this many times. I drove a tow truck. And occasionally, this gigantic tanker would show up to deliver the gas. And we had 3 grades of gasoline and 3 different tanks. And the guy'd pull up and run hoses and do all kinds of stuff and put cones out. It's a big operation. And so apparently it can happen where they accidentally put the wrong stuff in the wrong tank. And as you can imagine, it causes problems. Here's a statement. At Circle K, we guarantee and stand by the quality of our fuels. However, issues sometimes arise, and customers should report them as soon as possible to us for review by our claims department. The car troubles experienced by some customers who purchased fuel at our location in Avon on January 19th resulted from fuels being delivered inadvertently into the wrong underground storage tanks. As soon as we became aware of the situation, we shut down fuel pumps. We apologize to any customers affected by the issue. We're working to assist them with their claims. In the meantime, we have removed and replaced the fuel in the affected storage tanks, and our pumps are once again operational. Customers whose vehicles may have been impacted at this location may contact Circle K customer service toll-free, and they give a number. We will help them through the claims process, including the necessary documentation. After reviewing and verifying the claim, we will reimburse customers for any repairs or associated costs related to this issue. Circle K told the station's reporters that the mix-up occurred only on Sunday, January 19th, adding that the company was handling claims at that time from 14 customers. So here's the thing. I mentioned I've got a couple stories. One is I've represented clients who bought bad gas. There was a gas station in Macomb County, Michigan, that went out of business shortly after this happened, which makes me think that it may not have been as accidental as others might think, where a client goes in, gets what he believes to be gas, he's driving off and his car stalls, takes it to a dealership or a mechanic, and they go, "Oh yeah, your tank is filled with water. Gas tank is filled with water." A short while later, there's stories in the news about people who've gone into this gas station and got a tank full of water. So I draft a lawsuit, file it, and then I go over to serve it, and the place is closed. Out of business. And I honestly think that the guys running that gas station thought, well, we're about to go out of business. Let's make one last killing here. And so what they did is they filled their tanks with water and sold it off and then just shut the place down and walked away from it. That's what I think happened. But unfortunately, my client got nothing because the business was defunct. The other situation I'm familiar with, and this one is kind of crazy. I may have told this story before. I know I wrote a story about it for Jalopnik back in the day, but I also worked as a cashier briefly at a gas station while I was in college. I was no longer working at the place with the tow trucks. I was in college. I needed a place with the right hours, and I found this gas station, and it was at Woodward and 13 Mile Road in Royal Oak, Michigan. And there's a gas station there today, but it was a different ownership back then and a different brand of gasoline. So one day I come in, and the manager is there. And the manager goes, "We got a problem." And I thought so because the manager was never there. And I go, "What's going on?" And he goes, "A bunch of water got in one of our tanks." And I forgot the explanation for it, but there was a problem something contaminated the fuel. I think it was water, but this is a while ago. This is like closer to 40 years ago. But he goes, "People will be coming in today telling you that they got bad gas." And he goes, "And you need to get their name and number and ask them if they have a receipt." And now, this is a long time ago, and most people did not use credit cards at this time because the pumps weren't equipped to take them. If somebody wanted to fill their vehicle up with gas, they'd actually walk up the window and say, "Hey, I need to fill up on number 3," and they'd slide me their card, and I'd authorize 3 to run till they shut it off, and they'd come back and I'd run the thing through the imprinter. Okay? So he goes, "You need to ask them if they got receipts." Well, guess what? Probably about 100 people came in, and they all came in, and they were complaining, and they say, "Yeah, I bought a bunch of gas, had a problem, blah, 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 blah." And I say, "Okay, what's your name? What's your phone number? Do you have a receipt?" "No." "Okay." And now, were all of these claims legitimate? I don't think so. I think word got out that, oh, this gas station did pump some contaminated gas on Friday night or whatever it was. And if you go up there and complain, you can get some money. Now, I don't know what happened. I never heard about it again after that. And I did not work 7 days a week there. I worked on the weekends. By the next weekend, I never heard a thing about it after that. I simply left a list of names and phone numbers for my manager to deal with. And so, obviously, times are very different back then than they are now. But the real thing here is that I hope if you got bad gas from this gas station, that you've got a receipt for it. And now, if you ran a credit card or a debit card or some kind of plastic that is, transacted electronically, and there is a record of that somewhere, that will probably be okay. But I feel sorry for the people who go in and put $5 or $10 or 15, 20, whatever cash, and literally just go, "Hey, throw 10 on number 4. Because when you come back and go, "Yeah, I got bad gas here. I paid cash, didn't get a receipt," you might have a hard time convincing them, because I'm reasonably certain that the story I told you about the old days at the gas station where I was the cashier, I'm certain they denied claims. I'm certain they said, "Hey, if you haven't got a receipt, we're not going to pay you." I'm pretty certain. Now, I don't know if they got sued. I don't know that. But obviously, if they get a bunch of claims and some people come back and go, "Yeah, I paid cash and I got a receipt," they're going to look at that very, very skeptically. Now, of course, if you walk in with a stack of receipts going, "Hey, look, I just had to have some work done, and there's a repair order here from a mechanic that says, contaminated fuel, diesel in a regular gasoline engine had to do this work on it, and it just so happens to be a day or two after this happened," that's probably good. But again, I've seen companies that aggressively defend themselves even though they're in the wrong. Here, it appears that they're stepping up because they're speaking to the press. They're saying, "Hey, look, call this number. We'll take care of people." And as of right now, they're handling claims for 14 people. But the real question I have, and we don't know this, is when a couple people get the bad gas, somebody's going to call the station. The station's going to call a manager. Manager's going to go quick, shut the pumps down, because we just got gas. We know what the problem is. They'll figure it out. And from the moment it gets shut down, how far back do you go? And it's probably shortly after the drop of gasoline. And then how many people bought gas in that time frame? And was it really only 14 customers? And the station will be able to figure that out pretty quickly also. So I feel sorry for the people who paid cash, don't have receipts. But I said in my article on Jalopnik, if you do pay cash, you probably want to get a receipt. But hey, it's a lot of paperwork. It may never happen to you. You might not care. But I've done these stories before. I can think of 2 or 3 other examples where they mixed up something and put something in the wrong underground storage tank. So Circle K responds after Ohio drivers unknowingly pumped their gas tanks full of diesel and vice versa. From WKRC, Nate Sennett, thanks a lot. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. Be sure to follow your own advice before dispensing it to others.